The rhythmic hum of the horizon's quantum engines was the only sound in Dr. Maya Chen's laboratory as she studied the anomalous energy readings on her holographic display. Her slender fingers traced patterns in the projection, marking unusual radiation spikes. Coming from Lumarea planet officially classified as uninhabitable and strictly off-limits to Alliance vessels, computer. Magnify Sector 7, Maya instructed, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. The display zoomed, revealing what appeared to be debris scattered across Lumoria's northern hemisphere. That's definitely not natural formation, her communication panel chimed. Dr. Chen, Captain Reeves, requests your presence on the bridge, came the artificial voice of the ship's AI. Tell him I found something urgent, Maya replied, already gathering her equipment. Something's crashed on Lumoria. On the bridge, Captain Reeves frowned at Maya's findings. Protocol is clear, Doctor. Lumoria is restricted space. We report this and continue our mission. Maya's jaw tightened. With respect, sir, those energy signatures match life support systems. Someone could be alive down there. It's not our problem, Reeves said firmly. The diplomatic incident isn't worth the risk. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. The thought of anyone dying alone on that cold planet while they simply drifted away haunted her. By 0300 hours, she had made her decision. Stupid, she muttered to herself as she programmed the ship's smallest shuttle for launch. As chief medical officer, her authorization codes allowed her this much freedom, at least. Completely against protocol. But she couldn't ignore her conscience. Lumoria's atmosphere was thick with swirling purple clouds. Maya navigated through electrical storms that made her shudder until she reached the coordinates of the energy signature. Below, partially buried in iridescent sand, lay the remains of a vessel unlike anything in the Alliance database. Sleek, organic-looking. With flowing lines that seemed to pulse with faint light, Maya landed nearby and stepped out in her environmental suit, medical kit in hand. The air was breathable, but thin, tasting of metal and ozone. The wreckage creaked as she approached, internal systems still functioning despite the damage. Hello, she called out, scanning for life signs. I'm Dr. Maya Chen, of the Alliance research vessel Horizon. I'm here to help. Her scanner led her deeper into the wreckage, where the air grew warmer. She rounded a corner and froze. Lying amidst twisted metal and pulsing circuitry was a humanoid figure tall, with skin the color of twilight blue that seemed to shimmer with subsurface bioluminescence. His features were elegant yet alien. High cheekbones, a strong jaw, and eyes closed in unconsciousness. A dark fluid that must have been blood seeped from multiple wounds across his body. Maya knelt beside him, medical training overriding her shock. Can you hear me? She asked, pressing her scanner against his chest. The readings were unlike any species she knew, a complex cardiovascular system, cellular structures that seemed to capture and process light itself. His eyes suddenly opened, startlingly violet against his blue skin, and locked onto hers. His mouth moved, forming words in a language her translator couldn't process, before he slipped back into unconsciousness. I'm going to help you, Maya promised. Already administering emergency nanomedicine calibrated for xenobiology. Just hold on. She worked frantically to stabilize him. She found an ornate insignia on his torn clothing symbols that suggested importance, perhaps even royalty. Whoever he was important to someone. And now, his life rested in her hands. With growing fascination, Maya realized she wasn't just treating any alien, but potentially making first contact with a species unknown to the Alliance. Yet as the stranger's conditions stabilized under her care, she couldn't help wondering if she had just saved a life or ignited an interstellar incident that would change everything. The shuttle's medical bay hummed with energy. As Maya worked tirelessly through the night, the blue-skinned alien's physiology challenged everything she knew about xenobiology. His cells absorbed the nanomedicine differently, seeming to process it through pathways that channeled light itself. Remarkable, she whispered, adjusting the formula again. His wounds were slowly knitting together, but his consciousness remained elusive. Maya wiped sweat from her brow, fighting exhaustion as she monitored his vitals. On the third day, she replaced the healing matrix over his chest wound, their fingers accidentally brushed. A jolt of energy surged between them, like static electricity, but deeper, resonating through her mind. Maya gasped, stumbling back as images flooded her consciousness, a crystalline city rising from an amethyst sea. Ships sailing between stars, ceremonies conducted beneath 3 moons. When the sensation faded, Maya found herself on the floor, heart racing. "What was that?" she murmured, staring at her trembling hands. A Seleko came a melodic voice. The alien was awake, violet eyes studying her with intensity. "You speak my language?" Maya touched her translator. "Universal translator. Though I didn't expect it to work with your species. It's fascinating." He attempted to sit up, wincing with the effort. "I am Prince Navek, heir to the Zelarian Empire. And you have saved my life, though I sense you were not authorized to do so." Maya helped him adjust his position. "Dr. Maya Chen. And no, technically, I'm violating about 17 Alliance protocols right now." She smiled wryly. "How do you feel?" "Like I survived a neutron storm," Navek replied, looking at his healing wounds. "Your methods are unusual, but effective. However, the connection that just formed between us, that was unexpected." "Connection?" Navek's expression grew solemn. "When Zelarians are healed with true compassion, a temporary, empathic link can form. But this?" His fingers hovered near her temple. "May I?" Maya hesitated before nodding. His fingertips were cool against her skin, and the connection bloomed again, gentler this time. She felt his curiosity, his gratitude, and underlying it all, a profound sense of duty. "Extraordinary," he whispered, breaking contact. "The link is unusually strong. Among my people, such connections are rare and ... significant." Maya's cheeks warmed. "I should contact my ship. They'll be looking for me." "No." Navek caught her wrist. "If your people discover me, others will follow. My mission was diplomatic but secret. The attack on my vessel was not random. There are factions who wish to prevent an alliance between Zelarians and humans, between Zelarians and anyone." Navek's gaze grew distant. "My father, Emperor Talon, has kept our empire isolated for generations. I've spent years convincing him to change course." Maya sat beside him, suddenly aware of the implications. "So I've rescued a prince on a secret mission, formed some kind of psychic bond with him, and now we're both essentially in hiding." A smile transformed Navek's face, revealing unexpected warmth. "When you phrase it that way, it sounds rather adventurous." Despite everything, Maya laughed. "Not exactly how I planned my research expedition." As days passed, Navek regained strength. Maya learned that Zelarians processed energy differently than humans. They absorbed light through their skin, converting it to cellular energy. The prince was fascinated by human resilience in comparison. "Your species adapts without biological transformation," he observed one evening as they shared a meal. "You build tools, change your environment instead of yourselves." "Remarkable," says the man who literally photosynthesizes, Maya retorted with a smile. Their conversations flowed easily, spanning science, philosophy, and personal histories. Maya spoke of Earth's recovery from environmental collapse, her childhood in New Shanghai, and her passion for bridging species through medicine. Navek described the crystal spires of Zelaria Prime, the art of starlight weaving, and the burden of being heir to an empire that feared change. Meanwhile, the empathic link between them strengthened. Sometimes Maya would feel a wave of homesickness that wasn't hers, or Navek would smile at a memory she hadn't shared aloud. It was disconcerting but increasingly natural, like learning a new sense. One night, as Lumoria's twin moons cast silver light through the shuttle windows, Maya caught Navek watching her with an expression that made her heart quicken. "What is it?" she asked, suddenly self-conscious. "I was thinking," he said softly, "that perhaps the attack on my ship was not misfortune, but destiny." His hand moved hesitantly toward hers. "Without it, we would never have met." Before Maya could respond, the shuttle's proximity alarm blared. She rushed to the console, heart pounding for a different reason now. "A ship has entered orbit," she reported, scanning the readings. "And it's not the Horizon." Navek joined her, his face grave as he studied the display. No, he confirmed, a complex mix of relief and apprehension flowing through their link. That is a Zilarian Imperial cruiser. My father has found us. The Zilarian cruiser hovered in Lemuria's upper atmosphere like a predatory creature, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in prismatic patterns. Maya watched it on her shuttle's view screen, stomach knotted with anxiety. They're scanning the surface, she said, monitoring the energy fluctuations. How did they find us? The Solico Nevik explained, donning the formal attire Maya had repaired. Such connections can be detected by our sensitive specialists trained to locate members of the royal family. He paused, adjusting the ornate insignia on his chest. I must signal them before they consider your presence a threat. Maya caught his arm. Are you sure that's wise? You said there were factions against your mission. Nevek covered her hand with his. This vessel bears my father's personal sigil. We can trust them. His violet eyes held hers. But Maya, you must understand humans have never been welcomed into Zilarian space. What happens next is... unprecedented. Story of my career, she replied with forced lightness, though the flutter of concern through their link betrayed her true feelings. Nevek activated the shuttle's communication array, transmitting a series of tonal patterns royal authentication codes, he explained. The response was immediate. A beam of shimmering light engulfed their shuttle. Freezing its systems, tractor beam, Maya whispered. Watching her control panels go dark, transport beam, Nevek corrected. Prepare yourself. The shuttle dissolved around them in a cascade of light particles. Maya felt momentary weightlessness. Then solidity returned as they materialized in a vast, cathedral-like chamber. Crystal pillars rose to impossible heights, and the floor beneath them seemed to flow like liquid metal while remaining perfectly solid. They were surrounded by tall, blue-skinned figures in elaborate armor, weapons trained on Maya, their features varied in shade and structure, but all possessed the same luminescent quality as Nivek. Among the Zilarians, Maya felt small and conspicuously alien. Stand down, Nevek commanded in a voice that echoed with authority, a prince speaking to his subjects. The guards hesitated, eyes flicking between Nevek and Maya. A deep voice cut through the tension. I would hear why my son protects a human before any weapons are lowered. The circle of guards parted to reveal an imposing Zilarian whose skin shimmered with deeper, almost sapphire hues. Emperor Talon stood a full head taller than his son, his face a stern mask of authority, eyes the color of the space between stars. Nevik bowed formally. Father, I present Dr. Maya Chen of Earth, serving with the Alliance. She saved my life when my diplomatic vessel was attacked. Without her intervention and considerable medical skill, your lineage would have ended on that forgotten world. Talon approached slowly, studying Maya with unnerving intensity. A human risked herself for a Zilarian prince, he stated, circling her. Curious. Your kind are not known for such selfless actions toward the unknown. With respect, Emperor Maya replied, meeting his gaze despite her racing heart. You haven't given many humans the opportunity to prove otherwise. A ripple of shock passed through the assembled guards. Nevek tensed beside her, but to their surprise, Emperor Talon laughed a sound like distant thunder. She has spirit, he acknowledged to Nevek. Yet that doesn't explain the Solico between you. Our sensitives detected it across 12 star systems. Nevek and Maya exchanged glances. Through their link, she felt his silent request. Trust me, Ond, gave an almost imperceptible nod. The connection formed during my healing, Nevek explained. It is strong, unusual, perhaps significant. Tylan's expression sharpened. Significant how? That remains to be seen, Nevek answered carefully. But I believe it merits study rather than rejection. Dr. Chen's presence offers an unprecedented opportunity for understanding between our peoples. The Emperor considered this, then gestured to the guards. Escort them to the diplomatic quarters. The human is not to be harmed, but neither is she to wander unaccompanied. His gaze fixed on Maya again. We will speak further, Dr. Chen, when I have consulted the ancient records regarding such connections. As they were led through soaring corridors of living crystal, Maya leaned close to Nivek. Your father seems intense. 3 centuries of rule will do that, Nivek murmured. But he listened. That's more than I expected. 300 years? Maya whispered in shock. Nick smiled. We age differently than humans. I'm barely 90. You look good for your age, she quipped, then grew serious. What did you mean about our connection being significant? Before he could answer, they arrived at their quarters, a suite of rooms, overlooking an artificial landscape of crystal gardens and flowing light rivers. The guards stationed themselves outside. Leaving them alone, Nivek moved to the viewport, his profile outlined against the starscape. In Zalarian history, there are accounts of rare bonds that transcend ordinary connections. Bridges between souls that were meant to find each other across the vastness of space and time. He turned to her, vulnerability clear in his expression. Such bonds are considered prophetic signs of coming change. The last recorded instance preceded our greatest era of expansion and discovery. His voice softened. They're also considered unbreakable. Maya approached him slowly. And do you think that's what's happening between us? Some cosmic destiny? I think, he said, taking her hands in his, that when I was dying on that planet, something led you to me. And whatever exists between us now feels more real than anything I've known. Through their link flowed his emotions, wonder, hope, and something deeper, warmer. Maya felt herself trembling slightly. I'm a scientist. I believe in evidence, causality, logical explanation. And yet, Nevik smiled. Drawing her closer, here you are, standing in a Zalarian imperial cruiser, bonded to an alien prince. When you put it that way, she laughed softly, then grew serious as his face lowered toward hers. Is this wise? Your father, your people? For once in my life, Nivek whispered, his breath cool against her lips, wisdom seems less important than truth. Their kiss was gentle at first, then deepened as the empathic link between them flared like a newborn star, carrying sensations and emotions back and forth in a cascade of shared experience. In that moment, the vast differences between their species seemed to fall away, leaving only the simple, profound connection of 2 beings who had found each other across the impossible distances of space. Outside the viewport, stars wheeled through the void as the Imperial cruiser began its journey back to Zalaria Prime, carrying with it the seeds of a transformation neither human nor Zalarian could fully imagine. The Imperial Palace of Zalaria Prime sprawled across an entire floating island, suspended above a vast ocean of liquid crystal. As Maya stood on the observation deck beside Nevek, the 3 moons of Zalaria cast prismatic reflections across the surface, creating a spectacle that made her breath catch. It's beautiful, she whispered, pressing her palm against the transparent barrier. This is merely the outer court, Nevek explained, pride and affection mingling in his voice. The inner sanctums contain gardens where flowers bloom in patterns that predict stellar events. In chambers where our histories are preserved in living memory crystals. Maya turned to him, studying his profile in the moonlight. During their week-long journey to his homeworld, their connection had deepened beyond what either could have anticipated. Through their empathic link, she had experienced fragments of his childhood, felt the weight of his responsibilities, and shared in the depth of his vision for his people's future. In return, he had glimpsed Earth through her memories, marveled at human resilience, and grown to understand her passion for building bridges between worlds. Your father has been avoiding us, Maya observed. Since their initial meeting, Emperor Talon had kept his distance, communicating only through formal messages delivered by court officials. Nevek's jaw tightened. He's consulting the ancients' former emperors whose consciousness patterns are preserved in the Imperial archives. This situation is unprecedented. A human on Zalaria, or the Solico between us? Both. Nevek took her hand, his skin cool against hers. The Council of Ministers has been in continuous session since we entered the system. There are ... factions. Maya felt his concern through their link. The same factions that attacked your ship? Possibly. His violet eyes met hers. There are those who believe Zalaria's strength lies in isolation, that contact with other species will dilute our culture. They call themselves purists. And what do you believe? Maya asked softly, though she already knew the answer through their connection. I believe stagnation is a slow death. Nivek's gaze returned to the crystalline sea below. For 10,000 years, the Zalarian Empire has remained unchanged, perfect, pristine, and increasingly irrelevant to the wider galaxy. Subtle tone interrupted them, and a shimmering portal appeared at the chamber's entrance. A tall Zalarian female stepped through, her skin a deeper blue than Nivek's, adorned with intricate bioluminescent patterns that marked her as a high-ranking official. First Minister Celine, Nivek acknowledged with a respectful inclination of his head. Your Highness, she replied, her eyes lingering curiously on Maya before returning to the prince. The Emperor commands your presence in the Ancestral Hall, both of you. The Ancestral Hall was a vast chamber at the heart of the palace, its walls embedded with thousands of memory crystals that glowed with inner light. The preserved consciousness of Zalarian royalty dating back millennia. Emperor Talon awaited them on a raised dais, surrounded by his personal guard in the full Council of Ministers. Maya felt a ripple of apprehension through her link with Nivek as they approached. The formal atmosphere suggested a judgment rather than a consultation. Prince Nivek of House Dvorak, heir to the eternal throne, announced a court herald, and Dr. Maya Chen of Earth. Emperor Talon rose, his imposing figure silhouetted against the glowing crystals behind him. For 7 cycles, I have consulted with the ancestors regarding the unprecedented events that have transpired. A human has not only entered Zalarian space, but has formed a Seleco with the imperial heir. Murmurs spread through the assembled ministers. Maya stood straight, conscious of being the first human many of them had ever seen. Oh, the attack on my son's vessel was not the act of external enemies, Talon continued, his voice hardening. It was orchestrated by traitors within our own empire, those who would rather see the imperial line end than witness change. Gasps and outraged exclamations filled the hall. Nivek's hand found Maya's, squeezing gently. The conspirators have been identified and will face imperial justice, Talon declared. But this treachery has inadvertently revealed something greater. He descended from the dais, approaching Maya and Nivek. The solico between my son and this human is not merely a healing bond. He gestured, and the memory crystals surrounding them pulsed in synchronized patterns. Holographic images materialized in the ancient Zalarian text and diagrams that swirled around them, according to the prophecy of eternal light. Recorded by Empress Lyra 9,000 years ago, when the starlight touches Earth and forms an unbreakable cord, the Empire shall transcend its boundaries and find its true place among the cosmos. Talon's eyes locked with Maya's. Dr. Chunna, daughter of Earth, have formed the prophesied bond with the heir to Zalaria. This cannot be coincidence. Father, Nivek began. I don't believe. Talon raised a hand, silencing him. What you believe is irrelevant in the face of prophecy, my son. For millennia, Zalaria has awaited this sign. He returned to the dais, his expression solemn. The council has reached its decision, Dr. Maya. Chen will be granted the status of imperial consort and appointed Admiral of Interstellar Relations. Maya blinked in shock. Admiral. Emperor Talon. With respect, I'm a doctor, not a military leader. The title is ceremonial, but the authority is real, Talon explained. You will serve as bridge between our worlds, guiding our first diplomatic initiatives with your alliance. One of the ministers stepped forward, her expression severe. This is folly, Emperor. Placing an outsider in such a position. Careful, Minister Vex, Talon warned. Remember what befell the last, who questioned imperial decree? The minister paled and retreated. Turning back to Maya and Nivek, Talon's expression softened fractionally. There will be resistance. Change always faces opposition. But the solico between you represents possibility of future where Zalaria does not merely exist in splendid isolation, but thrives through connection. Through their link. Maya felt Nivek's complex emotion surprise. Vindication, concern, and beneath it all, a fierce joy. His life's work had been to open Zelaria to the wider galaxy, and now it was happening in a way none could have predicted. "What say you, Dr. Chen?" Talon asked. "Will you accept this position and the responsibilities it entails?" Maya looked at Nivek, feeling the steady pulse of his support through their connection, then back at the Emperor. "I will, on one condition." A ripple of shock passed through the hall at her audacity. Talon's eyebrows rose. "You presume to place conditions on Imperial favor?" "I do," Maya replied steadily. "If I am to represent humanity to your people, then Zalarians must be allowed to visit Alliance worlds. True understanding requires reciprocity." Nivek's surprise and admiration flowed through their link as he watched her face the Emperor unflinching. For a tense moment, Talon studied her, then unexpectedly laughed a sound that seemed to startle even his ministers. "Perhaps the prophecy chose well," he conceded. "So be it. A delegation of Zalarians will accompany you on your first diplomatic mission." As the formal ceremony concluded, Maya and Nivek were escorted to the Imperial Gardens for the traditional blessing ritual. Walking among exotic flora that responded to their presence by changing colors and releasing harmonious tones, Maya finally had a moment alone with Nivek, Admiral of Interstellar Relations, she whispered, still processing everything that had occurred. Nivek smiled, sliding an arm around her waist. "It suits you better than you know. Your compassion, your intellect, your willingness to take risks for what you believe in, these are exactly what Zelaria needs. And us?" Maya asked softly. "This Solico, the prophesied's all happening so fast." Nivek turned to face her, framing her face with his hands. Through their link, she felt his absolute certainty. "Some bonds transcend time, Maya. What exists between us would have found a way, prophecy or not." As moonlight filtered through the crystal canopy above them, casting rainbows across their entwined figures, Maya realized that her impulsive decision to rescue a stranger on a forbidden world had altered not just her fate, but potentially the course of two civilizations. Nivek's lips met hers in a kiss that sent waves of shared emotion cascading. Through their connection, a promise between two beings from different worlds who had somehow found each other across the vast emptiness of space. The Alliance diplomatic vessel Concordia hovered at the edge of Zalarian space, its crew watching in awe as the crystalline fleet approached. Maya stood on the observation deck beside Captain Reeves, her former commanding officer, now her diplomatic counterpart, as the massive Zalarian flagship Celestial Harmony took position alongside them. "I still can't believe I'm seeing this," Reeves muttered, shaking his head. 3 months ago, we knew the Zalarians existed but had never made contact. Now they're our most promising allies, and my former medical officer is their Admiral of Interstellar Relations." Maya smiled, adjusting the flowing garments of her ceremonial Zalarian robes, designed to accommodate human physiology while honoring Imperial tradition. "Life takes unexpected turns, Captain. It's putting it mildly." Reeves studied her curiously. "The reports mentioned something about a Solico between you and the Prince. Care to explain what that actually means?" Before Maya could respond, she felt a familiar presence through their empathic link. "You'll meet him soon enough," she said, as the airlock cycled open. Prince Nivek entered, accompanied by a small delegation of Zalarian diplomats. In the 3 months since Maya's appointment, he had been her steadfast partner in building the framework for their unprecedented alliance. Together they had navigated the complexities of introducing two vastly different cultures, overcoming centuries of isolation and mistrust. Reeves and his officers bowed formally. Nivek returned the gesture before crossing to Maya's side, their hands naturally finding each other's. "The treaty documents are prepared," Nivek announced. "My father sends his regards and his anticipation for the signing ceremony on Earth next month. Earth is preparing a welcome worthy of the occasion," Reeves assured him. "The first visit of a Zalarian emperor to the Sol system will be historic." After the formal introductions and preliminary discussions, Maya and Nivek retreated to private quarters to review the final treaty provisions. As the door closed behind them, Nivek's formal demeanor softened, and he drew Maya into an embrace. 3 diplomatic sessions in one day, he murmured against her hair. "You must be exhausted." Maya leaned into him, drawing strength from his cool presence and the steady flow of their connection. Worth every moment. We're making history, Nivek. Indeed. He guided her to a viewport where both vessels were visible against the backdrop of stars. Though I must admit there are moments when I miss the simplicity of that shuttle on Lemuria. Maya smiled at the memory. You were barely conscious for most of that. I was aware enough to recognize something extraordinary when I found it, he countered, tracing the curve of her cheek with cool fingers. Through their link, Maya felt his underlying concern, a shadow of worry beneath his calm exterior. Something's troubling you, she observed. What is it? Nivek sighed, moving to a console where he activated a secure channel. A holographic display materialized, showing intelligence reports from the outer regions of Zalarian space. The purists have been more active. Several outposts supporting interspecies cooperation have reported sabotage attempts. Maya studied the reports with growing concern. They're becoming bolder. My father believes they're receiving support from outside forces elements within other species who also fear change. Nivek's expression hardened. The path we're forging threatens many established powers. We knew there would be resistance, Maya reminded him, squeezing his hand. That's why this treaty is so important. United, our civilizations are stronger. Nivek nodded, but his concern lingered. There's something else. He hesitated, then continued. The Imperial physicians have been studying our solico. They believe it's evolving. Evolving how? Maya asked, suddenly alert, becoming more permanent, more comprehensive. His violet eyes searched hers. They theorize that eventually our consciousnesses may synchronize to the point where separation would be... ... He paused, struggling for the right word. Fatal. Maya suggested quietly. Incomplete, he corrected. Neither of us would be whole without the other. Maya absorbed this information, considering its implications. Their lives were already deeply intertwined, professionally, diplomatically, emotionally. This revelation only confirmed what she had begun to suspect. Their paths had merged irreversibly. Does that frighten you? Nivek asked softly, vulnerability evident in his voice and through their connection. Maya shook her head, surprising herself with her certainty. No. It feels like confirmation of something I've known since Lemuria. She moved closer to him, placing a hand over his heart where she could feel the steady rhythm so different from her own. Whatever happens, we face it together. Relief and love flowed through their link as Nivek bent to kiss her. Moment of perfect understanding amid the chaos of forging new paths. The following week brought them to the neutral zone, space station, where representatives from 12 different species had gathered for the preliminary alliance signing. As Maya addressed the assembled delegates, she was acutely aware of the historic nature of the moment. For centuries, the Zalarian Empire remained apart from galactic affairs. While humanity and other alliance species charted their own courses through the stars, she began. Today, we recognize that isolation, no matter how splendid, cannot be the answer to our shared future. From his position beside her, Nivek continued seamlessly, their thoughts almost perfectly synchronized after months of shared consciousness. The challenges that face us, resource scarcity, the expansion of hostile forces at our borders, the mysteries that still await discovery, these cannot be addressed by any single species alone. As they spoke, completing each other's thoughts with natural harmony that astonished the assembled delegates. Maya felt the profound rightness of their path. What had begun as an act of compassion toward a wounded stranger had blossomed into something that transcended personal connection, a bridge between civilizations that could reshape the future of the galaxy. Later, as the Celestial Harmony prepared for its journey to Earth with a diplomatic delegation aboard, Maya stood with Nivek in the Imperial chambers, gazing out at the stars that once seemed to separate their worlds, but now connected them. I received a message from my old research team today, Maya said, leaning against his shoulder. They've been studying the artifacts we recovered from Lemuria. Apparently the crash site wasn't random. Nivek raised an eyebrow. Oh, according to ancient star charts embedded in the planet's ruins. Lemuria was once a meeting place, a neutral ground, where different species came together during the last Great Alliance. 15,000 years ago. She turned to face him, eyes bright with the implications. History repeats itself, or perhaps Nivek suggested. Drawing her into his arms, the universe simply guides kindred souls toward each other, knowing they'll find a way to bridge the spaces between. As their lips met, their soliloquy resonated between them, no longer merely a connection, but a shared existence. Two beings from worlds apart who had found in each other something worth crossing the stars for. Outside the viewport, stars streaked past as the Imperial fleet set course for Earth, carrying with them the promise of a new era where differences between species became not barriers, but foundations for something greater than either civilization could achieve alone. In her quarters that night, Maya recorded a final entry in the personal log she had maintained since Lumoria. Today marks 3 standard months since I disobeyed orders to investigate an anomaly on a forbidden world. In doing so, I may have altered the course of history, or perhaps simply fulfilled it. Either way, as we journey toward Earth with the Zalarian delegation, I can't help but think that some of the greatest discoveries aren't made in laboratories or on distant planets, but in those moments when we choose compassion over protocol, connection over isolation, and love over fear. As she finished her entry, Maya felt Navek's consciousness brush gently against hers through their ever-deepening bond, a silent affirmation that whatever challenges awaited them in the stars ahead, they would face them not as human and Zalarian, but as two halves of something unique and profound, a bridge between worlds, forged in starlight.